Okay, so this slide is giving us some information about what participants felt students were lacking in the most. And there's a lot going on the screen, but basically what I gathered is that this lighter red color is reading comprehension. So our participants felt that that was the area that most of our students were lacking in. I found that really interesting because reading comprehension really does affect every core content and every elective kind of across the board equally. So if you struggle with reading comprehension in science, you're probably going to see that also in math with word problems. So I thought that was really interesting. The other two areas that were on high up on the concerns of our participants were basic reading abilities and executive functioning. So we know those are our skills that affect homework completion and task management and organization and all of those skills that make you a successful student. Participants also chose trauma and test anxiety. I think that one was a write-in, so teachers, participants could have wrote that in. And then multiple areas of reading as some possible areas that students are lacking in. Now this slide is talking about what the participants feel makes RTI successful in their buildings and districts. And it's really no surprise to me that having a designated RTI team with specific members and roles was the #1 characteristic that makes this successful. I think it's important that everybody knows their role. So I was not surprised to see that. The other top two areas that participants felt made RTI successful in their buildings or districts were having support for teachers who are implementing those strategies and those interventions in their buildings. I had the option of being able to select tier 2 interventions and tier 3 interventions. We know they're supposed to change within the building if you have a specific RTI system in place. So I thought that was important to note that people were seeing that support as being necessary to be successful. And then this one, of course, is looking at obstacles that are present in the buildings that prevent RTI from being successful. I thought it was interesting that if you look down here at the bottom, one person who answered the survey said that this wasn't applicable. So I'm going to reach back out to that participant. The participant did actually leave their email address as an option for me to contact them. So I'm going to reach out and see kind of what the thinking was on that. My guess is that because that person also answered a lot of characteristics that made RTI successful in their buildings, there really wasn't any barriers in place, which was nice to see. But again, that was only one participant out of the 18. It's no surprise here if you look up at the top that lack of training is an obstacle that 11 of the participants felt prevented their buildings from being successful with RTI. And of course, lack of support for classroom teachers and lack of support from teachers. So we've got lack of support for teachers with 10 participants and lack of support from teachers. So two very different areas, very different obstacles within buildings and classroom culture and things like that. So be interesting to kind of dive into that a little bit more. So what does all of this mean? Well, it means that I have more work to do. It means that I am going to be reaching out to those participants who left their email address for me to contact if I have follow-up questions, and I'll certainly be doing that. It also means that I want to get started on putting some systems in place for my current building. Of course, with our current situation and not being in the buildings, I have some time to kind of talk to my teammates and really get a plan going for next year. So I'm hoping that by next year I can get something started. And being the special education department head in my building, I have the opportunity to really help influence what professional development opportunities we have or we are able to get for next year. So I'm looking forward to being able to get some of that information planned for next year. And last but not least, I know this kind of cuts off, but a very huge thank you to Dr. Fries for all of his support and knowledge that I've been with him since 2010. Bill and Dee Brem and their generous scholarship that's allowed me to be on this journey, and of course to my husband for his support.